Okay, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight, and let's get started right away. Let me share my screen here. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, so this is our pre-Neir's 196th anniversary block party special. This Saturday, October 4th, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. Outside Neir's Tavern there is the annual block party, and this is such a great event for a lot of reasons. I mean, yeah, you've got um, it's hot dogs, popcorn, cotton candy, um, but there's a lot of activities for kids, and just a lot of opportunity for all of the friends and neighbors of Woodhaven and our surrounding neighborhoods to kind of just hang out. It's gonna be a beautiful day, and there's gonna be some ceremonies where they're honoring some people. So I really recommend that you come out on Saturday to the Neir's 196th anniversary block party, and it's going to be like I said, it's going to be a really fun time. There's a whole lot of different activities in here. There's going to be some face painting, um, and they've got this is what I want to see. The NYPD is going to give a demonstration of the robot dog. Um, we're going to have the annual steeplechase race, and where people run around like horses and race in the street. It's silly fun. And there's going to be a dance by the Kingdom Dance Company performance at 4 p.m. And at 2 p.m. is where we have the ceremony where we honor um, some of our notables, and we've got a lot of people that are very deserving. You can see them there. Come out and support them, and support Neir's Tavern, and just support our community. And this is great. The Neir's Ambassador Club, have chosen these folks here. McGee Hickey gets the Rochelle Boone Award. And then the other honorees, the Liam Castro, Nydia Velasquez, our Congresswoman, Margie Schmidt, Chris Duden, and Jennifer. And they have a lot of great people there. And come on out and be part of a great community. Woodhaven Cultural Historical Society will be there. We put together this little board game, and it's a fun game. You play it with dice. We call it the Union Course Racetrack game. So come out, play against one of our expert jockeys, and if you win, you'll get a prize. So it's simple as that. And just a heads up that we are having our party slash fundraiser, the Woodhaven Stakes, to raise money to get a welcome to Woodhaven sign, and that is going to be on Saturday, November 8th at 12 noon. There's going to be 6 races on the big screen, and you'll get to try and choose a winner, and there's going to be prizes given out there as well. Then there'll be pizza and music and trivia and fun. It'll be a good time. Anyway, we're the Woodhaven Cultural Historical Society, established 1993. You can get in touch with us and get on our mailing list at projectwoodhaven@gmail.com or woodhavenhistory@gmail.com, and get on our mailing list. We don't bombard you with emails, but we do let you know when we're going to have these kind of events, these kind of Zooms or live performances. We're at Neir's next Saturday, October 25th at 12 p.m. So that's a great time to go to Neir's at noontime on a Saturday. I tell you, what I love about it is it's parking all over the place on a Saturday afternoon. It's a great time to visit, and then afterwards you have the jazz band. It's a great afternoon in Neir's. So I wanted to start off by saying a few words about a member of the Woodhaven Cultural Historical Society and a member of the Woodhaven community who passed away last week. was laid to rest this Tuesday. There was a funeral mass. This is at All Saints on 96th Street, and that's Mr. Alan Smith. And I know there's a lot of you out there that knew Alan, and to you, I say my condolences, and to those of you who didn't know Alan, I'll just say that he was just a very smart man, a very generous man, and he was he had his own personality. He was very independent, and he was a very nice man and a very good friend. Here he is in the Wyckoff Snedeker Cemetery, which was a passion of his, and this is something he and I bonded over. Over many years, this cemetery here, and he just loved this community. He lived on Forest Parkway. He was he was raised and lived in this community, and really loved it. And here's Alan and I working together on a scan of a map. And this is a day we spent. I don't know how many hours we spent together. It was like it was all day long because he got here so early, and I drove him home late at night. And we just kept it. We had to scan this map in, and we were looking at it. It was a great time, and I enjoyed working with him. We are in the process, long process, I know, of doing a book, and here he is working on a proof of the book. So I just wanted to say a few words about Alan, and how deeply he'll be missed, not only by me but by everyone who knew him. So, and here he is in All Saints, formerly St. Matthew's, standing next to the baptismal font where he was baptized when he was a baby. Okay, so let's take a look at some nearby history. And I'm going to start off by saying where in Woodhaven is Neir's, because Woodhaven is a big area, and at one time there were different sections of Woodhaven, and where Neir's sits, that area was known as Union Course, Long Island. That was before. That was when they always called us Long Island those days, before we were officially Queens. But we were over that area. That was Union Course, and in the old maps, this is a map from 1873. You could see there's the Union Race Course, the Union Course Racetrack. And over in the top left there, you'll see the name Unionville, and that was another name for a section of it. But generally, that whole area around the racetrack had the name Union Course, and you'll see that in a lot of old newspapers, that when they're mentioning where something happened or where someone lived, they'll say Union Course, and giving you an idea where in the relation to the racetrack where Neir's is, and that spot right there, and so kind of right across from that last turn. And we're going to take a look, and I'm going to try and do this quickly, not too quickly, but if you come to one of our regular meetings, we're going a lot more detail. But there's a lot of interesting and notable historical places to visit when you're around Neir's Tavern. Starting off with the obvious one, the Union Course Racetrack, and I can't stress how important this track is in sporting history. This was a racetrack that opened in 1821, after over 20 years that horse racing was made illegal, and finally, when it was made legal again, this track had been waiting to open, and it attracted big crowds from the beginning. And here's the map that Alan and I were working on, which gives you a good indication um, the shape of it. It wasn't exactly oval, um, which I found kind of interesting. Again, there's where Neir's would be in relation to that map, and the track. One lap around the track was 1 mile. And when they would have these races in these days, they would have heats, and it was like a best of three heats, and the first heat would be four laps. So they would run 4 miles, 4 miles, and if they hadn't had a winner yet, they'd have to run another 4 miles. That's 12 miles, and some of them were best of five, where horses ran up to 20 miles. It was really a very different sport than what we know today. And people would come out for these races, which were usually between two horses. They were match races. There were exceptions. There were ones where there were more, but generally they were two. And if they didn't have two, there would be a challenge put to the horse, like he would have so many hours to run 100 miles, so many laps around the track. And this would be a battle of endurance and stuff. And people would come out and bet on it. People would come out and bet on it. But what happened was in 1823, and a lot of these races which were between the North and the South. 1823, there was a race between American Eclipse and Sir Henry, and what happened was in that time there was about 8 months before from the time the race was announced to the time it happened, and in that time railroads had gotten better. Um, the steamboats were doing traveling, and people flocked from all over, and over 60,000 people came to Woodhaven to see this race, and it had a very very dramatic thing that it was here. There's a book written about this called The Great Match Race by John Eisenberg. If you like to read about history and you're interested in this particular race, this is a great book, and I'm really surprised no one's made a movie out of it yet. It's that good of a story. It's that good of a story. American Eclipse was a much older horse, and the Southern horses were always kind of dominant, and there was a lot of betting on this. And American Eclipse, right before the race, they fired their jockey Samuel Purdy. They fired him and went with a younger jockey. Samuel Purdy was 50 years old. He had gained weight, and they were like, "Nah, we'll go with this kid." And they went with this young jockey, and the race, between the two horses, the first heat, um, American Eclipse fell behind early and was behind for all four laps. But not only that, the young jockey in his panic had really beaten American Eclipse badly, and the horse was bleeding. And the owners were frantic. They didn't want this jockey on the horse anymore, this young kid. And they went into the crowd looking for Samuel Purdy, looking because someone said he's in the crowd, he's here today. And they went through the crowd looking for him, and when they found him, he was standing there, and they were like, they were begging him. And when he finally agreed to ride in the race, he opened his jacket to reveal that he was wearing his jockey clothes underneath, and the crowd went crazy. And he went out and took the horse, and American Eclipse won that second heat in a really an amazing come from behind victory, and then won the third heat going away, and won. It was considered one of the first uh, 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 great American sports spectacles, and it happened right here in Woodhaven, and it happened right across the street from Neir's Tavern. Nearby, we're going to start just a little bit of history. When you come to Neir's, you might walk or drive by Jamaica Avenue, and these are old roads that go back centuries, and you can find them on some very 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 old maps. This is a map from the 1830s, and it's very easy to identify Jamaica Avenue, Atlantic Avenue, Woodhaven Boulevard. You can see the roads. You can even see there a little bit you can see the outline of a racetrack, and you can see the Union Course is there in this 1830 map. And Jamaica Avenue used to have these tolls that carriages would have to pay to continue using on the road, and Jamaica Avenue was mostly dirt. And sometimes it would get muddy, so there was a lot of areas where they put down planks of wood, and hence it got a nickname, the Plank Road. Snedeker's Hotel. Um, so we've looked at the Union Course Racetrack. So I'm gonna put this in perspective. See the big red star up there on the left. This is on Jamaica Avenue. It's not none of these are going to be far from Neir's. These are all easy, like 5-6 minute walking distance. And this down here is on Jamaica Avenue. And what this is, it's the hotel of John Snedeker, who was very involved in horse racing, and owned this hotel in which all of uh, the gamblers and the owners and the jockeys and everyone that hangs around a sport, especially a sport that involves gambling, would congregate at this hotel. And behind the hotel, there was a trotting area, and you could see they had stables, and it was a very fancy place. He was a very influential man. 78th Street, which Neir's Tavern is on, for many years was named Snedeker Avenue after John Snedeker. And John Snedeker is buried in the cemetery behind All Saints on 96th Street. So he's actually still buried here in Woodhaven. The Truant School for Boys. So this is in the same location as Snedeker's Hotel, um, and supposedly some of the smaller buildings in the back actually were originally remnants of Snedeker's place. But this was a truant school for boys, and they would come here, and they had activities and games and stuff, and they were educating them. And one night in the early 20s, in the middle of a really cold spell, this building, which again was right on Jamaica Avenue, just like Snedeker's Hotel, this building went on fire. And all the young boys streamed out into the cold, and some of them were in their nightgowns and bare feet, and all of them were taken in by the local homes. They all took in two or three boys and got them warm, got them blankets, and chipped in, and brought them in. But the building was ruined, and it was torn down. And then there was a lot of debate over what to do with the land, but eventually, on that same spot as Snedeker's Hotel, we end up getting Franklin K. Lane High School. And this opens in 1936. Interestingly, it was the second school named Franklin K. Lane. There was one in Brooklyn that closed down in the early 1930s. And Franklin K. Lane was he was Secretary of the Interior, and it was said of him that had he not been born in Canada, he would have been a successful president of the United States. But because he wasn't born in the United States, he couldn't run. But he was very powerful, and that's who Franklin K. Lane was named after. His ashes were scattered from the top of El Capitan, and there's a mountain range that was named after him. So that's who Franklin K. Lane High School was named after. And you can see that on Jamaica Avenue still. It's broken up into five different schools, and but it's a beautiful building here on Jamaica Avenue. It was in one of the Spider-Man movies, and that is on the same land as Snedeker's Hotel and the Truant School. And now we're going to look at Hiram Woodruff's Roadhouse. which is just a bit to the right, closer to Neir's from our last stop. And this is a fun one because I like talking about this guy Hiram Woodruff, who um, who owned a place on Jamaica Avenue, a roadhouse they called it. It was a hotel, it was a bar, it was a restaurant, it was stables. And again, same as Snedeker's, you had all sorts of collection of people that were coming there and living there and hanging out there. And this is where that location is today. That's the Sea Town on Jamaica Avenue. And here's Hiram Woodruff. And I have to tell you, I'm just going to talk about him. I'll let you read the things there instead of me reading to you. But when you read about him, he was generally like regarded as one of the nicest people. Everybody absolutely loved this guy Hiram Woodruff, and he was involved in racing his whole life, and he was celebrated as a rider and a trainer, and he rode all the biggest best horses were brought to him, and he wrote a book about horses and trotting, and it was published in the 1860s. I think it was 1867 it was published. It's still in print. You can still buy it. You can go on Amazon and buy it. But yeah, he operated stables on Jamaica Avenue, a saloon and a hotel, and he was also, his fame was attached to a very famous horse who we'll be talking about. And there's the book, The Trotting Horse of America by Hiram Woodruff. Like I said, look it up. You can buy a copy. It's very interesting. It discusses a lot of different horse races, many of them that took place at the Union Course, and he discusses them in tremendous detail. You have to really, have to understand it's about trotting horses. So um, that's the copy we bought, which was published in 1867. That's the copy that we have. I to tell you the truth, I'm kind of nervous about opening. I've got it in bubble wrap because it is very old. So Hiram Woodruff set a lot of his records when he was riding uh, a horse called Dexter, and Dexter was a very very wild horse, and he saw something in this horse. His prior owners didn't see anything in the horse because they had gelded him. He wasn't, usually a horse, if it's very successful, you want it to put it out to stud. You make extra money that way. That's what they all used to do. And but they took that away, and basically, they pretty much gave Dexter to Hiram Woodruff, who turned that horse into one of the greatest horses, and really one of the most famous horses. You'll be surprised how famous he was, and all his fame was right here at the Union Course Racetrack. That's Dexter, and he's who's who I'm going to talk about next. Um, after Hiram Woodruff had broken many records with him, uh, he was enticed with a very generous offer by a Mister Bonner, who was a big fan of racehorses, and he took Dexter around on tours. Notably, in 1868, um, he took Dexter around the country with Ulysses S. Grant, who that's who this painting is of Grant and Bonner riding Dexter. When Grant was running for president of the United States, Dexter was part of his campaign. He rode around and made appearances, and he was very famous when he eventually passed. in 1888. It was headlines around the country. It was, he was a famous horse. And there's a town in Iowa that has the name Dexter, and it's named after Dexter that ran here in Woodhaven. And you can see there, it's the original one horse town, Dexter, Iowa. And if you do a search for Dexter weather vanes, you'll find weather vanes that are shaped like horses. They actually named a line of weather vanes after Dexter. Dexter's in the Hall of Fame, as is Hiram Woodruff. Um, and if you go up there, it's worth the trip. It's in Goshen, New York, the Harness Racing Hall of Fame, and you'll see they have a display in there of Dexter and his horseshoe, and in the gift shop they have cups with Dexter on it. I mean, he was a famous horse, and he ran right across the street from Neir's. Dexter Park, the Curse of the Pigeons. While you're down this way, I'll just give you a heads up on this. Again, we're at the same spot here now, that we were talking about, Hiram Woodruff's place. Um, when it was taken over after his death, one of the sports they started here was pigeon shooting, and this started in the 1870s, and they would bring in crates of pigeons, and they would let them loose, and they would shoot them, and the gunshots were going all day long. The neighbors were horrified by it. A lot of times pigeons were injured, not outright killed, and would make it into the neighbors' yards. So there was a lot of fighting from the neighborhood about this for years, but nothing could be done about it for a very long time, until finally, in 1902, New York outlawed shooting live pigeons, and this practice stopped. But this was ongoing here for about 30 years in Woodhaven, and it was 6 or 7 days a week sometimes, depending on the weather. But I say this as a warning, because I don't know if it's coincident or not, but ever since those days, Woodhaven really has been plagued with pigeons all along Jamaica Avenue. But in this area in particular, when you go down there, there are a million pigeons. So go down there at your own risk. On that ground there, the Dexter Park. This is a map from 1901, and a real nice close up there shows some of the things that were on the grounds in the wake of them stopping the shooting of pigeons. They had a dance hall, they had a bowling alley, they had the hotel. This was a popular place. There was a lot of sleigh riding there because there was a hill, because up there you see at the top where it says Simpson. That's up by Park Lane South, but that's really up in the hill, like over, and you can see on the left there where it says Cypress Hills Cemetery. So they used to do sleigh riding there, and all sorts of fun activities. And that was that land right there. Now, one of the things that they started doing there in the late 1800s, on occasion, they would gather and play baseball there. And when they played baseball, they were playing it on like a flat, open, ground. It was a lot of time. It was a field, and that would soon change at this location. Here's the entrance to Dexter Park, and there's a restaurant and a bar there, and over back there is part of the hotel. And this was Hiram Woodruff's. Much of this was Hiram Woodruff's place. This is where he lived. This is where he passed away. In fact, when you're up in Cypress Hill Cemetery, if you visit his grave, it's overlooking this. Dexter Park baseball. I mean, we've done entire presentations on this. You'll see the marker when you go down there. Dexter Park, 1911. 1955. So they built like kind of like a small stadium in the early 1910, 1911, and it was in the 20s after Mr. Max Rosner, um, and another man, Nat Strong, after they purchased the team, they built up the stadium and made it something special. And of all the things that I wish I could go back in time to see in Woodhaven's history, I think this is up there. I really would love to see this. Look at the list of players that used to come out and play. This was in the off season. After the major league season, these guys would come around and they would make extra cash coming here and playing. And then during the season, you had players that were coming here from the Negro leagues that were playing, that were banned from playing Major League Baseball, and would come here and play. And they would play against the Bushwicks, and they would um, right here in Woodhaven. There's Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig making a big entrance at a day at Dexter Park. They used to have fun with it too. I mean, they'd come in. There was some kind of theme with some kind of rodeo that was going on or something, and they would have a lot of fun with it. It was a big deal having these players come here and play right here in Woodhaven. And it would be in the local papers telling you, when who's coming, who the big players are. And there's a really nice picture over at the right with Max Rosner and his grandson, and with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Again, Ruth and Gehrig were regular performers here. Josh Gibson of the Negro Leagues. I mean, listen. According to you go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, they have him at nearly 800 home runs in his career, and a career batting average of 359. For a time there, the center field wall in Dexter was 30 feet over the ground, because there was a hill and then there was a wall. And Josh Gibson was the only player ever to hit the ball over that wall in center field. And another player, he only played one game at Dexter Park, but he did play here in Woodhaven, and that's Jackie Robinson. And I mean, it was Jackie Robinson who became the first African American to play in the major leagues. And I think I mean, this is we're not very far from where Ebbets Field was, and I think the fact that um, we had African American teams playing in Woodhaven for years, I think that they saw that nearby Brooklyn was the best place, and Jackie Robinson was the best person for it, and he played here. He did play here once in Woodhaven when he was a member of I think it's the KC team, and he is buried in Cypress Hill Cemetery. And when I talk about nearby history, Cypress Hill Cemetery really is a fantastic place to visit. Um, Here's Jackie Robinson's tombstone, and people visit and leave little mementos. They leave. You see signed baseballs, gloves, hats, all sorts of things, and they write messages on him telling him how much he meant to them. It's very 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 touching. And when you stand there over his grave and you look over and you're looking over Woodhaven, you're seeing Franklin K. Lane, you're seeing where Dexter Park was. It's very, very close, Jackie Robinson's grave, very close to the Jackie Robinson Parkway. And if you ever want to go, and again, if you're interested in just out for a nice walk in a cemetery, Cypress Hill Cemetery has this map that you can get online, and it tells you where all the famous people are buried. Some that we've already talked about, today. Hiram Woodruff is on here, and John Pitkin. Mae West is on here. A lot of people, that you'd be surprised. So you can get this map online, or if you go into the office there, they usually hand it to you. It's a beautiful, beautiful cemetery. And if you're ever interested in learning more about Cypress Hill Cemetery, there is a book, and I bring it up because the book was co-written by our friend Alan Smith. So a little plug for Alan there on his Cypress Hills book. Dexter Park, when built, when it became a stadium, um, immediately you could start getting some decent sized crowds in there. Um, and whereas before it was a very very small stadium, now suddenly they were making money, and they were filling the house pretty regularly. Um, but Max Rosner was an innovator, and around the country there were leagues and teams that tried doing night baseball, and it it wasn't very successful. And you got to understand, it's very very difficult to light a baseball field because first of all you've got to light an entire surface, and it's got to be evenly lit. You can't have bright areas and dark areas. It's got to be all uniformly lit. You also have to do this without blinding the players, and without blinding the crowd. And you also have to light the sky, because if there's a ball hit up into the sky, it has to it has to be seen, and it has to be uniformly lit in the sky. Think about all of that and how difficult this is. And Max Rosner turned to the smartest electrician he knew, his son, Herman. His son was a lawyer and an electrician. And his son Herman said he knew how to figure it out. And they built lights, and they tinkered and tested and all that. And eventually in 1930, they started night baseball in Woodhaven, right here on Jamaica Avenue, a few minutes away from Neir's Tavern. They had night baseball here, and it was regular night baseball. And they didn't have night baseball in the major leagues till 1935, a few more years, 5 years later. And when they started doing baseball in the major leagues, who did they consult? They consulted the Herman Rosner and Max Rosner, and came to Dexter Park to see how it was done here. And there were baseball stadiums across the country that were modeled after the lighting here in Dexter Park in Woodhaven. Racing. Eh, you know what? Dexter Park was doing really, really well until television came along. Once TV came along, that was it. People had things to do. At night and daytime, they're working the daytime. Now at night, they're watching TV. They're staying home. They're watching TV. They're not going out. The game might, so they had major league games on TV, and suddenly, all of a sudden, Dexter Park found itself needing to come up with a new idea to try and survive, and what Rosner did. He tried. Listen, he had a lot of things there. He had boxing there, soccer. They even had polo there for a while. But what he ended up going with was stock car racing, and he turned he turned Dexter Park into a racetrack, and they would have car races there, and you can see it's right next to Franklin K. Lane, and these cars would race, and they would kick up dirt and dust and fumes and make a lot of noise, and all the people over there, over there on 76th Street hated it, hated it. These poor people, they had all the shooting of the pigeons. Then they had the baseball stadium, which was probably pretty pleasant and nice. But then to have the racetrack, yeah, they really hated it. But in a few years, um, even that wouldn't keep the place, alive. And after Max Rosner passed away, um, the line the stadium was sold, and the land was divided up into housing. But it was a grand time when you think of all the things that we've had here in sports in Woodhaven. We had the great racetrack in those races. We had the great baseball players right here. We really should be more well known for our sports here in Woodhaven. And finally, on Dexter Park, here there is a marker, like we said, on Jamaica Avenue there, and there are some members over there on the left of the ownership from the Bushwicks. In the middle there is Frederick D. Schmidt, our local assemblyman, and then the lady with the white hair, Leonora Lavin, who founded the Woodhaven Historical Society. And over there on the right, once again, Alan Smith. There he is. They were at the sign dedication that day, and they had a lot of players. This was in the '90s. They had a lot of players who played in Dexter Park. They had a lot of players who came to that ceremony. Max Rosner Way. Up up that street, you'll see there's a street sign there dedicated to Max Rosner. We did that a couple of years ago, and here he is as a younger man when he was with the Paramounts. He came to this country and he started selling cigars, but the one thing he really liked was baseball. So he joined the team and played as a shortstop for a couple of years, but then discovered he liked managing better than playing, and he ended up owning teams that would go around. And here he is there in the middle. There's Max Rosner as a younger man, and from that, grew this whole stadium and having all these great interesting things here in Woodhaven. And he was a very beloved figure. And in fact, in the Leader Observer, a lot of times they refer to him as Uncle Max. He was always loaning out the stadium for drives during the war and stuff, and for charity and everything. He was a beloved figure. Um, and there's them rebuilding Dexter Park down at the bottom when they were building it again, and and we were really happy on Dexter Court at 86 Road to put up a sign of Max Rosner Way, and we were joined by many members of his family that came out, including this young man who was Max Rosner's great great grandson, and his name is Max Rosner, and and he had a real fun time with that sign. All right, so this is Purdy Street. And this is really close to Neir's. If you walk to Neir's, or if you walk, you might pass by it. It's right over here. It's a bit west of Neir's, but it's on the same street. And it's named after Samuel Purdy, the jockey from the Great Race, and that's 76th Street nowadays. And there's Neir is down there, the bottom right. You see the circle. It's just 2 blocks over, and that's Purdy Street. At least that was the name long ago. Looking at this map right there in the middle, you can see there's Purdy Street. So he was famous enough to get a street named after him back then, but somewhere along the way, that street name was changed. Civil War camp. This one again. This one is like the race track. I just say look out near his front door, because right across the street on the grounds of the racetrack, there was a Civil War camp. If you're interested, again, I'm giving good book plugs today. I think it's my third. Long Island and the Civil War is an excellent book of just all about what went on up here in Long Island, including Queens, during the Civil War. And this book, the cover of it down below, that is a drawing of a Union camp at the Union Course Racetrack. Here's that picture right here. During the Civil War, the racetrack temporarily shut down and was used as a Civil War camp. And in the beginning, the conditions there were pretty bad because the soldiers had to get there first, and when they got there was no food. They had no food. They had no provisions. So just like the neighbors did with the truants, the people, the farms, they were providing food to feed the soldiers in their effort to win the Civil War. And if I didn't make the point, that's right across the street from Neir's. When you walk out next time, when you walk out that front door, don't only look across and say, oh, there was a racetrack there. Think about it. Think about those soldiers walking around. Those soldiers walk around in the 1860s when Neir's is, going on what 30 years old or something, walking around and seeing that establishment. Neir's Hotel. Yeah, and right down the block from Neir's towards Jamaica Avenue, you'll pass by the Neir's Hotel. You can see it. You can see it here. It's a beautiful picture of this old hotel. You can see there right on the corner there where it says Neir's old Union Course Hotel. By this time, this is across the street. This would have actually been on the grounds of the Union Course. This would have been on the grounds of the Union Course. So this had to have gone up, sometime in the 1890s, because that's when that the racetrack was the lots were being sold off. But yeah, the Neir's family owned that hotel, which was just right across the street and down the block. And here's that building. Here's that building today. It's a church. And again, if you're walking or driving around, you'll pass right by it as you're heading down towards Jamaica Avenue. It'll be on the corner on your right. That's the old Neir's Hotel. Relax, eh? Hook and Ladder Hose Company, number one. I love this one. I love this one. This is again just right down the block from Neir's, right down 78th Street, just down about, I think it's like a block and a half, I think. And it'll be across the street on the other side of the street from Neir's. And it's so ironic that Lloyd Gordon, a fireman, has been the one to come to the rescue of Neir's because this area, you know, right around at Neir's Tavern was very well known for firefighters. The volunteer firefighters. If you've been in Neir's, you've seen this picture hanging on the wall, and um, right down the block and across the street is where the Union Course Hook, Ladder, and Hose Company number one on Snedeker Avenue was founded. And it was founded in 1893, and it lasted to 1915. Reason it lasted in 1915 is that's around the time when the FDNY had been founded, and a lot of the volunteer firefighters were moving from these units over to the ones where they were getting paid for it. So this was a firehouse that was right across the street from Neir's, and you look up at the top up there, and you'll see that's where the fire bell is. So when there was a fire, that's how they would alert, and all the volunteers would come running out, and their truck and their horse would down there. This building is still there. This building is still, you pass by it all the time. The bell tower at the top is gone, but I want you to look at this front piece right up here. It's very, very unique. You look at that front piece and you'll see the house today, and you'll see that front piece is up there. I'll go back one more time so you can look at it. Amazing when you see a place like this that you realize what was an important place in the lives of a community, and and then you see it years later as a house. This is kind of an extension on that one. The fire bells of Woodhaven. When the church that eventually would become St. Luke's, when they were looking to meet, a couple of people that were starting to found St. Luke's, they were volunteer firefighters. So they met at the at Hook and Ladder number one on Snedeker Avenue on 78th Street over by Neir's. That was where they met in there. And that was where they met for a couple of years until they could raise money to start building what would become St. Luke's on 85th Street in Woodhaven. And St. Luke's was built over the course of a number of years. That they would build sections of it at a time and then keep adding to it. And eventually around 1915, and remember that 1915 is when Hook and Ladder number one closed. In 1915, they built this extension of this church with this top part, which is the bell tower. The bell tower for St. Luke's is up there. And what they did, because the fire company was closing, they took the bell from 78th Street and they moved it to 85th Street into St. Luke's. So for many years, whenever you would hear the bells of St. Luke's, you were actually hearing the original bells of the fire department of Woodhaven. So that's over on the other side of what would be the racetrack over there on 85th Street. This is a little bit out of our scope, but it did have to do with those bells. And there's St. Luke's today. Now, I don't know if those church bells that are there now are the same. I don't. The bell is up there, but a lot of places it's the bells don't work anymore, and I don't know if theirs does. But we should pass the word and make sure people know down the line. God forbid should this church ever be taken apart, that bell up there really should be preserved because it is part of our community's history. The Union Clubhouse. This is a real interesting one. That this is right down the street from Neir's, and I guarantee you've passed by this house a million times, and you wouldn't even give it a second thought of it being something significant. But if you look on the map of the corner, this is just down the street from Neir's. You'll see on that map it says the Union Club, and that's HO for house, the Union Clubhouse. And then below that you see like a little dark area. That's the house that's on that plot, and you can see how it's recessed in from the street. The house isn't up to the street. It's back. It's back a ways. So in looking, this is a 1940s tax photo of that same house, and you can see it's a good age. It's a good age back then. There's you don't have much trouble looking at that and saying that's a 60 or 70-year-old building. There's a very good possibility that this was the Union Clubhouse. It's again, it's recessed off of 78th Street. It's recessed back. It's an old house. It's on that location and the thing, and you pass by this building all the time. It's still there. Um, and I tell you something funny. I never liked this picture of this place because the sun is shining right over the top of the building, right in your eyes. And every time I used to do this presentation, I would get annoyed because I don't like this picture. And I said, and also they went and redid this place and put all new siding on it. It's black siding. So I wanted to get a new picture of it. So I drove down at about like 5:30. I drove down there to get a picture of it. And wouldn't you know it, the sun was shining. The sun was shining at me again. So I got to go down there and get a better picture. But that's what the place looks like now. And that was the Union Clubhouse, which again sat right across from the entrance of the racetrack. On that map, it's right across from the main entrance, and there were lots of union clubs around the city. There was a lot of sporting clubs called union clubs that men joined and paid dues and stuff. So this was some sort of clubhouse with an attachment to the racetrack. And by extension, while you're down there, when you see that house, when you see that black house on the corner, turn around because that was on the map. That is right near the main entrance of the racetrack. So if you turn around and look towards where the racetrack is, you'll see where the entrance to the track was. But you can see it's right across from there. But when you turn around, you just see housing. When they took down the racetrack and they cleared it away and they divided it up into parcels, it's close to 1,000. It's close to 1,000 houses and properties that went up on the footprint of that racetrack. I mean, that was a big space, and this is right across. What we're looking at is where the entrance to the track would have not would have been, but where it was. Father Lawrence E. Lynch Triangle. Father Lawrence Lynch is a great story. Um, and this triangle is down on Atlantic and Rockaway, um, and Father Lynch. Um, they call him there in the bottom right hand corner that you see that was from the Leader Observer, a young Woodhavenite. He lived on Eldritch Lane, and technically he lived on the Brooklyn side, but he was beloved in the communities around. He was from a big Irish family. They were well known in the area. Um, he was a priest when World War II broke out. He was in the army as a chaplain. He was with the Fighting 69, and he was Father Duffy. He was a successor to Father Duffy, and he was killed at the Battle of Okinawa. They what they said of him was that he was beloved by all the men. Um, he he also knew uh, uh, comforting words or last rites, the prayer for the dead, in several different religions, and again was very well. There's a book written about him. You can get it on eBay, Father Cyclone, and and you can read, if you've got an account on newspaper.com, there's tons of articles about him. It was very, very beloved. And he was killed at the Battle of Okinawa. And what happened was he used to go to the most dangerous places, and his superiors had warned him about that. And at the Battle of Okinawa, there was someone who was hit, who was dying, and it was in a dangerous place. And he ran out and he ran to the soldier's side to give him last rites. And while he was in the middle of giving him last rites, a shell came in and killed him as well. Well, after he died, after the battle, there was a huge funeral for him, and then it was back here in in our neighborhood. After a while, they renamed this triangle after him, and right on Atlantic and Rockaway there. It's technically it's an ozone park, but it's a triangle which kind of Ozone Park, Cypress Hills, Woodhaven, all kind of circle around this triangle named after this heroic figure. Again, another figure that a movie would be a great story. There's the triangle there. But they also named a sports league after him, Lynn Vets Football. LYN for Lynch, Vets for veterans. And he they named this they had a big parade and named this triangle after him, but over years the name had just disappeared. So we worked with our local officials and we got the triangle renamed. So his name is back on the triangle. The tragic crash of ladder 142. This is again just a short walk away from Neir's, down by Lynch Triangle over there on Rockaway and Atlantic. and this happened 1923, and it was in the middle of a blizzard. I mean, it was a real bad snowstorm. Visibility was very, very poor, and the there was a fire, and there was a fire. It was actually in Brooklyn, and truck 142, which is in Ozone Park, they were called, and they hopped into the truck. I think it was 8 men that hopped into the truck, and they were driving to the scene, and they had to cross this intersection, and this is Atlantic Avenue and Rockaway Boulevard. Atlantic Avenue going from right to left, and Rockaway Boulevard cutting right through this. So they were coming through, the fire truck coming through this way, and the gate man had one train that was halted on the passenger track, and had the gate down for the express track, and as the fire truck approached, somehow the gate got lifted as the truck was crossing, and as the truck got on here. Here's that intersection today. As the truck got there, they got stuck in the ice. This is a nice picture. I was just pointing out something to you. You just look at this house back here. See this nice pointy. You look at that house there, and then we take a look at the today picture. You can see that house is still sitting there at this intersection. This is just this is like 2.5 blocks away from Neir's, right? So this intersection is where everything happened. Now, keep in mind, in those days, Atlantic Avenue, the Long Island Railroad, that road right along the surface of Atlantic Avenue, and there was a train that was hurtling down Atlantic Avenue as these guys were getting the truck, trying to get it across the tracks. It had gotten stuck, and they were getting out, and suddenly out of the snow, this train, this locomotive comes out, and while guys were trying to clear the path, there were other guys who were on the truck, and not everybody was able to get clear of the collision. The wreckage was tossed for blocks, for blocks, and sadly three firefighters lost their life. This was in 1923. Now in 2023, um, the families, and the FDNY put a new plaque up in the Firehouse 142 in Ozone Park. There was a plaque for them already. As a matter of fact, it's right up here in the left up here, but they wanted a new plaque to mark the centennial of their tragic loss, and they had a ceremony at the firehouse, and these are descendants of the firefighters who came to the ceremony, and many of them talked about the really the great holes in their families' lives that terrible night had, and the terrible effects it had on their families. Effects that have ripple effects for a century later. There's a fun one, Woodhaven's hidden street. There is a hidden street in Woodhaven, Clemente Court, and it's down over here again, not far from Neir's, and right on where the racetrack was. As a matter of fact, it's strongly suspected that it is actually part of the racetrack, that area. You'll see what I mean in a minute. You can see Clemente Court down there at the bottom curving up. It's just an unusual little road that goes no place. It's a legitimate street. There you can see it on the map. It's on 82nd Street between 91st Avenue and Atlantic, not far from Neir's. If you were to look at it, though, right, you look at the over at the left, you don't see a house. It looks just like a driveway. but it is a street. I can assure you, it is a street, and you can see a street sign up there. It's an unusual street sign. It's not the same font as regular ones. So I don't know if someone put one up as an unofficial one, but if you go back there and you'll see it curves, and I don't show the people's houses back there, but there are houses back there. There are houses back there. I think later on you'll see. But we go back there on walking tours. The only way you feel comfortable about it is one of the houses. We know someone who lives in a house, and they always come out and walk with us. So it's a resident who's coming. And there we are walking back that being escorted back, and there we are. There's Neir's owner Lloyd Gordon up there at the front. And that was a fun day. We did a nice walking tour of the Union Course area. Here we go. Woodhaven's happy little accident. When we're going to look at this over here, which is Whiting Square, which is on the other side of the racetrack. Again, just a few minutes walk across the racetrack from Neir's. As they started laying out streets uh, around the racetrack, uh, somebody on the left was pretty good at their job in laying out streets. Somebody on the right, whoever did it, was was not doing a good job. I mean, all the streets ran right into the racetrack, which meant that eventually all those streets, when the racetrack was removed, all those streets would all run into each other. So you had this little triangle here where, and I'm going to go back a page here. You can see the little triangle down here where a street was running into the road. And what they ended up doing was they ended up using that triangle, kind of like when you put a little wedge under a shaky table leg, right? To make it steady. They put in this little wedge here, which is Whiting Square, which is a tribute to the soldiers from Woodhaven, and in particular Clinton L. Whiting, who was a heroic soldier, and was killed in action. Clinton L. Whiting Square, ever Whiting Square, or as people call it to this day, the Rock. And in those days, it had a cannon. That cannon only lasted until World War II, when they took it for scrap metal they needed and everything. That rock has been moved around a few times, and it used to have it used to have a beautiful bronze plaque on it, but the plaque was stolen, and we don't know what the exact words on the plaque were. 1928 is when Whiting Square was founded. So we've got a couple more years to find out the words. Otherwise, I think we should come up with some new words, put it on a plaque, and put it back on the rock. It should have one. Just going back to Clemente Court here, you can see that highlighted down at the bottom. As you come around Clemente Court, it actually feeds right into where Whiting Square is in 84th. And again, that was just part of that racetrack. So as you go around this corner of the racetrack right here, it just lines up right up with this right here, meaning that this part of Whiting Square, when you're on here, is part of the back stretch. There is Whiting Square on the Rock. Really quick, just right half a block from there is Woodhaven's VFW, Whiting Post 59. Clinton L. Whiting not only had the square named after him, but just over here had the post, and it's a beautiful old building. And a lot of times the Memorial Day parades sometimes used to start from here, and the VFW would be very, very involved in it. Here's the VFW as it appeared in the 1940s, and this building is still here today. It's a private residence now, but this was the VFW, an important building in Woodhaven's patriotic past. For you school nerds, PS60. PS60 was my school. This coming year will be 50 years, 50 years since I graduated from PS60, and that was a great school. I love seeing PS60, but PS60, which where it is now, over on the other side of the neighborhood where it currently is, it used to be over close by to Neir's, and this is what PS60 looked like. PS60 was one of the last wooden schoolhouses in the city of New York, if not the last one. And a lot of the parents in the area had been complaining about it for years because it was very, very old. I believe it goes back to 1893. It was small. They were all crammed inside there, and they had outhouses in the back, which were later were replaced with other bathrooms. But it was deemed to be unsanitary and mostly just very, very unsafe. So they started ridding the city of these, and eventually PS60, this one was torn down, and the other one opened. Even though that sign above the doorway still hangs inside PS60. Right now, that's where PS 60 is, where it used to be. You can see a different style of houses, right? That's where it used to be when they built the houses on that land. You can see it wasn't on a big piece of land. They built different style. And PS65, this was even closer to Neir's. I mean, where you can see where Neir's is right there, and PS65 was right down the block. You pass by where PS65 was all the time, and look what an imposing looking building this is. I mean, I tell you, they really knew how to build schoolhouses that that could really scare the bejesus out of you. And they'll say, "Look at this thing. This looks like a haunted mansion." But this was the school over here. This is one of Woodhaven's big schools. And when this opened, at the time this opened, there was a man named Martin Joyce. He was the principal of PS65. He was the principal of PS97. He was the principal of PS60. And all three at the same time. So this was the school right here. Again, that's right on 78th Street. As you were walking, if you were to walk off the left-hand side of this picture, you'd be continuing walking down to Neir's Tavern. Here it is today. Again, you can see different style houses right here. But this big lot right here is where PS65 was, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this as you're leaving Neir's if you're heading down towards Jamaica Avenue. We're going to talk a few minutes about Brian Hyland. The singer was a Woodhaven resident. He went to our schools here. He went to St. Thomas. He went to Frank and K Lane, and he lived just right around the corner to Neir's. For years he stops into Neir's taverns whenever he's coming through New York, and everything. He used to like to come back past his house, and he would stop into Neir's Tavern. He loves Neir's Tavern. Here he is at St. Thomas the Apostle singing, from a very young age, and an extremely young age. Think of this: 16 years old. He has not just like a big hit, but the number one hit around the world. I mean, there so many countries. This was a huge smash hit, and he went on a big world tour for this. I mean, this song. And listen, he's had lots of other hits and lots of other success. Um, and he's still touring. In fact, I saw tonight. I saw him post something on Facebook that he's got a show in December at the New Jersey Pack. I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but it's in New Jersey, and I'd love to see if we could get a bunch of us together to go to see that. That would be fun. That would be fun. You know, he's a good guy, and he loves Woodhaven. He loves Woodhaven, and that's why in 2021 and this is through Lori of the Growing Up of Woodhaven page on Facebook. Lori was wonderful. She got in touch with Brian, and we worked together and arranged this great day in Woodhaven, and we had this morning get together at Jordy's joint. There's Jordy. And his wife Trish, she decorated the place. The two of them together decorated the place, and my God, it was great for the party. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And there was the cake that Phyllis Incerillo made. You guys might know her from Joanne Ariola's office. Look at that cake that she made. It was delicious too. It was the itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini cake. That is precious. It's great. And everyone was coming out. There's Mary Jo Select came out to meet Brian. She went to school with Brian, and she got to see him. There's Joanne Bartos, and she won. There was a few albums there that were up for raffle, and she won one and got it autographed. And there's Laurie from the Woodhaven page with one of his albums, and yeah, everyone was coming over, and it was great. Everyone was coming over, talking to him and getting time with him. There he is cutting the cake. We all went outside for a picture. There's there's Brian and Sherilyn there and everybody. So many friends in this picture. It was a really really terrific day. And we went to the house, and there's the plaque that we put on the house. Um, we wanted to do a street sign, or a plaque or something. You're not allowed to do that while a person is alive. So we were determined to do something in which he could attend. So we put a plaque on the house. We got in touch with the. It was hard getting in touch with the homeowner for a while because it was during COVID. But when we did, they were very, very enthusiastic. And there's the sign that we put up. It's a nice sign. It's got a nice picture of him, and a little description. It's on the house that he grew up on. His family, after they hit it big, after he hit it big, the family moved to Long Island. So I think because this is where he grew up, and this is where his mates were, and this is where he went to school. I think he's always held a really soft spot, and he really had a soft spot for that house. There he is on the porch of his house. We did get him a street sign anyway. You can get street signs like this printed up from DOT, and they're not expensive. I mean, you get a sign like that printed up for like $43, and it's like the real heavy metal, and they'll put pictures on it for you, and everything. And here he is inside the house. Um, there's the homeowner inviting him in, and exchanging gifts. And Brian at one point when he was in there was talking about, um, he was like in the kitchen, and he put his hands out like, this is where our kitchen table was, and you could see in his mind he was remembering how things were. I mean, and it was really something to see. I kind of wonder, I grew up in 95th Street and Jamaica Avenue. What emotions would I feel walking back into that apartment after so many years? And that is what he was going through. I mean, that we were there, but I think in his mind's eye, he was with his family, and he was 14, 12, whatever again. He was a kid again here in Woodhaven. And finally, the last place, and it's the place that you'll be seeing on Saturday. And if you walk around this place, is where you're going to see all this great history, and that is Neir's Tavern. And again, well, you know where Neir's Tavern is on here, but I'll just put the star here so you're really, really sure. And you can see where it is in location to all of this amazing stuff that we've talked about, tonight. And again, Neir's history. When you go there, it's on the walls. These photographs are on the walls, and these photographs, are a look back in time, to a place. And this picture taken here after the Neir's family had purchased this. At the time, it had been called the Old Abbey, and they purchased this place on Snedeker Avenue, and you see a lot of old pictures of Neir's here, and it's a very very different look. And when you look at the pictures, you can find yourself looking at it and saying, I don't know, that don't look like Neir's, right? I mean, you're looking at it. But I can assure you, it is. And we're going to take a look at how, and then we can come back and look at these pictures real quick. Another beautiful picture of Snedeker Avenue down that way towards Jamaica Avenue on the right, and these men just coming out for a group picture. Look at those mops on the left hanging there. Such great details in this picture. But again, looking up at the top of it, you can see it looks very, very different. There's the bowling alley. When they were tearing recently, you saw the building next to Neir's when they gutted all of this out for a brief period of time. These the where the bowling alley was, the floor was visible, and before it was taken up. But right through here, you can see that's the dining room for Neir's. That's where everything goes on in Neir's. This is in here is where they came through in Goodfellas and had that discussion there with Henry and Tommy and they came in here and told him that he was being made. That was right over here where they were having that. What a great looking room, you know. And back here you'd have the pin setters would sit back there, and it was done manually. It was all done manually. How wonderful it would be to see something like this. So again, there's the exterior of Neir's. This is at the corner of 88th and 78th, used to be Snedeker's. But what I want you to do, and you look at it now, you can see that it's a different look. So I've got this before and after so that you can see the two right there. You can see the doors are in the same place. There's the diamond window. Um, you can see this, and if you see where the top is, there was a large extension that was built as a cap that went right on top of Neir's Tavern, and that's why you have this pole that we always hang on to as we're leaving. you know that pole is holding up the whole thing up here because it was never here. They didn't have it here in this picture. They put up this pole afterwards. So when you're going out, keep that in mind. If you're grabbing onto it and swinging down too hard, let's be careful. That extension's there. I built a little model. I brought it to one of the block parties. I think maybe I'll think about bringing it to this one, but it has the cap that you can put on it, and you can actually see how it all makes sense. But um, it's amazing. Listen, and when you talk about Neir's, you talk about the history of Neir's, you talk about all the great stuff, you talk about all the surrounding things. But this association with Mae West is something that is just so special. uh, there are a lot of people out there in the world, uh, in our country right now, who have no idea who Mae West is anymore. It's a name that is fading from view. If you walked around the street and asked 100 people who Mae West was, I'm afraid that the numbers of people who know her are dwindling. But thank God for Neir's Tavern, and has kept that name alive, and she was a dynamic performer, not only just a Hollywood performer, but on the stage, and she was scandalous. She was scandalous, and she lived just a couple blocks away, and it's just amazing that her name has been kept alive, and of course, other things like other movies in particular, Goodfellas, is just really it was amazing every time you watch that movie. When you see those scenes, it's like, oh, you get all excited. You know what I mean? It's all great to it's great to see that Christmas scene, and it's great to be associated, that Neir's associated with with these things. And there's Neir's owner, Loyce and Gordon, and well into the countdown to 200. And when you think about the history of this place, and you go back, all the many years, and how they had bowling there, and they had the ballroom upstairs, and during Prohibition, and all this great history. I would dare say that 200 and when the 250th anniversary comes, or in later years, when they're looking back at the history of Neir's Tavern, the last 10 to 15 years will be incredibly notable, because this is where Neir's Tavern, really, the name exploded into the general New York City, populace. More people knew about it, and that slogan, "It was the most famous bar you've never heard of," is becoming less and less apt, because I tell you, a lot of people have heard about Neir's Tavern. A lot of people have heard about it. A lot of people love it, and the Neir's ambassador and Loy and everyone else have just done a fantastic job of doing it. And I hope everyone will come out on Saturday for the 196th anniversary block party. It's gonna be a great day. Um, again, there's lots going on, lots of kid friendly stuff, and a lot of fun stuff throughout the day. I remember the one year I was there, people were dancing in the street. I wasn't. I had a bad leg that day, but maybe I'll dance on Saturday. We'll see what it's like. And I tell you, it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of great time just seeing everybody. Again, a lot of great honorees coming up. The celebration, the ceremony starts at 2 p.m., and the cake cutting is at 3. I am the MC of the event, so I have to make sure that we get everybody on and off the stage, and get it done in time for the cake. So that's my job for the night. But we want to honor all these people and see them get up there. Their friends and family are going to be there to see them, and it's going to be a great day. And again, stop by the Woodhaven Cultural Historical Society. Play a game. Just play a quick game. The game only takes about a minute. So you play the game. If you win, you're going to win a prize. If you lose, you get to the back of the line. So we'll be at the thing. And again, um, if you want to join our mailing list, send us an email, projectwoodhaven@gmail.com, woodhavenhistory@gmail.com. We got a presentation coming up next Tuesday. I don't even know what it's about yet, but we're on Zoom next Tuesday, and we're live at Neir's on Saturday, October 25th. So that is our look at nearby history. I'm going to uh, uh, what am I doing here? I'm stopping sharing. That's what I'm doing. Um, all right. So and now I can bear with me. I can take off the. I can allow you. I'm allowing you all to unmute yourself now, so you should be able to talk. And there we go. There's our man. But we're gonna get to Mr. Loyce in a minute. First, I want to bring uh, Richie Salmon. Richie, are you there?
I am, Ed.
All right. So you're president of the Neir's Ambassadors, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. So give us a little just give us, if you don't mind, tell us a little about what the Neir's Ambassadors do.
Before I get into that, I want to thank you for, great presentation.
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you.
it really was. Uh, just 2 points. Linbets for many, many years going back, sad to say, probably 60 years, I've known friends that have played for and against the Linbets.
Hmm.
Never knew what where Linbets came from. So you explained
Wow.
it to me tonight. I like that a lot to finally know that. And
That's
the
that's
second
awesome.
thing, with the Josh Gibson hitting the home
Mm.
run over the 30-foot wall only person ever. Spent a lot of time playing ball there. And back then in the 60s, it used to be, and you know where Franklin K. Lane building was compared to
Uh-huh.
the baseball field. The old wise tale back then was that he once hit a ball off the building in left field,
Wow.
which was probably about a 700-foot home run, which you would think was unimaginable, but stories I've heard about him,
Uh-huh.
and people that have played against him, uh, was probably the greatest home run hitter of all
Ah,
time, and never got uh, the notoriety from that. But that's two great points from tonight. Your presentation was
oh, great.
excellent. But with the Neir's ambassadors, it's a group, that Loy started, a few years back. And what we try to do is, we go the extra yard,
Hmm.
to try to help Loy in any way. And pretty much every one of us that are ambassadors, we all have our own cause that we
Hmm.
like to promote, be it with, you know, uh, on site in Nears or a Zoom, a virtual kind of thing, where we try to raise awareness for various organizations, and just to try to spread the word, which
Hmm.
people don't know, and that's one of our goals, or at least I know mine, and I think I speak for all the ambassadors. Yes, Nears, we love it. We try to do a lot. Lawyer Nears gives us the opportunity to spread the word on our causes, and and I appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you, Richie. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you guys do a fantastic job there.
Thank
Really
you.
do.
Looking forward to Saturday.
Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And what if we can hear from Karen? Karen Flood, how are you doing?
I'm okay. What would you like to know?
Oh, just your feelings about Saturday and being part of the nearest community. You and Chris are big supporters of Nearest
Yeah,
Tavern.
I'm so looking forward to Saturday. Also a little nervous, but yeah, it's gonna be a great day. I'm looking forward to, having the little kids craft table, have the
Uh,
little smiles on their faces, and they get their tattoos and their face
uh,
painted and stuff.
oh,
So yeah.
oh, that's great. That's great. Looking forward to seeing that. And I don't know, Ina, are you there? Can you say a few words here? Because I tell you, Ina does a great job researching Near's history
Hi,
and
hi. And my video is not working, but my voice is.
there you go. We hear you.
Okay. Um, yes, It's. I'm hopefully I can contribute a little more and dig up a little more of the little secrets that I'm sure there are about Nears and anything related to Nears, so people can understand where the community started, where basically where people came from and that are still here or moved to other places, but they still have a home at Nears, in the Woodhaven community. And thank you also. I have to say thank you also for the tidbit with the Linvets, not to
Hmm.
piggyback onto Richie, but my son actually played for the Linvets, and they actually won a championship with the Linvets, and I also never knew what it stood for, and it's great to know finally what
Oh, wonderful.
the name
That's
means.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
Ina.
and I'm excited to be there on Saturday and help make this block party a really big party that is successful and everybody can enjoy.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And thank you for all you do, all of you. And I want to say one more person before I get on to Lloyd. Helen Day, with the Richmond Hill Historical Society and the Friends of Maple Grove, is also another really big supporter of Neir's Tavern and local history. So just wanted to say hello to Helen. How are you, Helen?
Hi, Ed. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the presentation. As always, it's always good to hear the wonderful details of the history of our neighborhoods, and Woodhaven has so many interesting ones. And I'm looking forward to Saturday. It's great. And
Uh,
also, I ran into Jennifer Lambert today. She's
mhm.
all over everywhere. I seem to run into her all the time. And I'm dying to see the updates on the murals. I keep driving past just to see, and I see
Uh-huh.
her posts, and the murals are coming out beautifully. So I heard that the one on Myrtle Avenue and Freedom Drive is going to be worked on a little more tomorrow with the St. John students and the artist. So there's lots of exciting things going on.
That's
Not to
great.
mention the Richmond Hill rummage sale at Holy Child Jesus this weekend. So I've been popping in there and
Oh my
donating
goodness. Yeah.
stuff like crazy. It's been nuts. There is so much stuff there and just beautiful items. It's just amazing. So if you have 5 minutes, duck in there. You'll find something that you need, or want, whether you need it or not. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Uh, Thanks, Helen.
You're welcome.
And now let's say hello to our friend, our good friend, Mr. Lloyd Gordon. Lloyd, how are you?
I'm all right, but I think you don't want to see my face. It says the host disabled the video.
Oh, really? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, okay. Here we go. Right now.
Oh, there you go, my ugly mug.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, goodness.
So
Uh,
how you feeling about Saturday? Weather looks good. Weather looks good. Everyone's excited. You're excited about things.
you could always judge the level of commitment of some of our supporters by if they'll come out in a hurricane, which they have in the past.
Uh-huh.
So Saturday, this weather looks great. We've done this through hurricanes and storms and rains, but the Road to 200 journey shall not stop. And Saturday will be 196 years. I first kicked it off at 190 years, and I've been here for 16. So 2029 will make literally 20 years, which will be 200 years Neir's Tavern have been in existence. So I don't know. That wasn't designed by me. I think that was something from the man up above.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that smart. I'm not that, ingenious. So I think it was meant to be. And so many of our ambassadors is meant to be for them to be involved because no man stands alone. No one is an island. And I can't eat all the burgers, I always say, or drink all the beer, right? So I do appreciate the ambassadors, whether you don't drink like Chris, but you visit and you hang out, you go to the dining room, bring your friends and family, or you advocate for causes on behalf of Neir's Tavern as an ambassador, whether it's for mental health, like Richie is his cause this year, or continuing the preservation and documenting Neir's history, like Ina.
Mm-hmm.
These things we've learned from, like the Bowery Boys is a really, really famous podcast. We explain that, most people don't realize that, Neir's Tavern was open during Prohibition. And we couldn't really prove all the details, but Ina there discovered that the owner actually got arrested during Prohibition for selling alcohol.
Yay.
I mean, so, all of these things is important, but at the end of the day, I think Neir's Tavern, my goal was to ensure that people realize that it's the People's Museum. We don't have billions of dollars to put our name on a museum or a library, but I would hope that they think that they have Neir's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big thing. It's not about me, it's about we. Saturday is going to be another year counting down to 200. And I hope that by people showing up, they could say, hey, I was part of that journey because I showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm really emboldened because as a small business, it's really challenging. It really is. But what
Mm-hmm.
keeps small business going when most of them fail, you know, is the owner saying, hey, I'm not alone in this journey. And that's why the Ambassadors Club is so important, because they're a really a dedicated group of advisors and people who champion local causes that they personally believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them believe in something, whether it's the road to 200 by itself or that and something else. Because I try to support so many causes, but I'm one person. But now we have
Mm-hmm.
a network to
Right.
amplify, right? To really expand the impact that Neir's could make,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it's about. Uh, Ed, I couldn't be more grateful that you accepted to be the MC, not only for the
Oh,
195 years
mm-hmm.
anniversary, for the 196, and hopefully we still have you all the way up to 200.
Is something gonna happen to me?
I don't know. I don't know. I just hope you keep accepting.
Listen, but you never know, and that's one of the things that there are moments in your life that are special, and times in your life that are special, and what's been going on at Nears over the past 16 years, and what's been continuing to go on has been very, very special. Um, I did want to ask you something, but I'm going to start just with a story first, because we spoke about Mr. Alan Smith at the beginning of this call, and the night Nears was saved. Remember, that was a chaotic scene at inside Nears, and I remember just before I had gotten there, I had gotten a call, and I was told, listen, the deal's been worked out. It's been saved. It's great. It's great news. It's great news. But you can't say anything. And that is really difficult for me. But I kept my mouth shut. I went in there, and people were like, so mournful and sad. And I'm trying to go along with it, but inside I'm like feeling excited. I'm waiting, and I'm hanging around, and people get sad, and then I see Alan come walking in, and he and I had been talking about it and talking about it, and I remember I was over near the screen, up by the stage up there. I was standing up there. That's where we were sitting, and he came walking over, and as he came in, I had a seat for him. I just pulled him in, and I was saying to him, I said to him, I said, it's okay. I said, it's been saved. And he said, what do you mean? And I gave him the details real quick, but I said, everything's saved. And as we were standing there, I could feel him. He was crying. It was just such relief. And then I was crying too, because what are you going to do? It was just such an emotional thing. It was such a feeling of joy. And in that moment, telling him, that was the first person that I could really tell, and it was a very, very good, moment. I'll never ever forget it. And
Yeah. Oh,
you know anyway.
I got so many beautiful stories of Alan.
Mm,
Um, and I told one at the after the funeral there. But he he really believed, even
mhm,
on Nears and why it should. Even when I my belief had faltered, he was still there. Um, I remember him, um, giving so much and trying to help Nears. And I remember he donated. He always donated to this organization for historic preservation, this national
mhm,
organization, $20 a month or whatever it was.
mhm,
And when we were saved and the news went national, right? Like literally, I remember afterwards, MSNBC, a national broadcast, I think it was
mhm,
Brian Jennings, whatever, national broadcast, interrupted the broadcast to make an appeal nationally that Neir's Tavern needs help. Alan was always believed in Neir so much that I remembered when we got a reprieve with the rent, one of the stipulations was the city would give us $90,000 grant to help with upkeep and certain capital improvements to offset the landlord giving us a reasonable rent. And I remember talking to him way afterwards, all this was dust settled down, and he's like, finally. I'm like, what do you mean, finally what? He's like, there's National Historic Preservation. I've been donated to them for over 30 years. And finally, they gave part of the grant was from them or something, or something like that. Finally, my money's going to good use. He felt so proud because it was being donated into a void, and to find out that we were able to get some funding from that to help save Neir's Tavern, especially during the pandemic. He felt that the 30 years of donating $20 here, $40 here to go back to the place that he loves so much made it all worth it. And that's one of the things amongst other stories that I love to.
Listen, we could be here for hours with Alan stories. He was a real gentleman, a real good guy, and I miss him.
Yeah. So let's dedicate Saturday. Maybe you can say a couple words and dedicate this year to Mr. Alan Smith, the Ambassador of the Year. Was it 193rd anniversary block party? I believe it was. Maybe you could say some couple words, or Chris said maybe a moment of silence or something. Well, you're the MC. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing everyone on Saturday. I'm gonna. This was recorded, so I'll pop this up on YouTube later, and hope to see everybody out there.
Yeah, good to see everyone.
All right.
Thank
take
you,
care,
Ed.
Bobby.
What a
Take
great
care,
presentation.
Thank you. Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you Saturday.
I hope to see you Saturday.
See you Saturday.
Yeah.